Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Be Mindful podcast. And today we have a very special guest. Davon Hernandez is the Chief Executive Officer of Future Focus Empowerment Institute International. He works with many young people, empowering them. And he also has a lot of other talents, which we'll get into down the line. But I'm so happy that you are here and you have so many titles that I could go on about, but truly, overall, he is making a huge difference in the mental health arena. So thank you for joining us today on the Be Mindful podcast.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I'm grateful to be here.
Yes, thank you again for agreeing. What's interesting is based on statistics and things that we know at this point is it's less likely for men and young boys to speak about their emotions and to speak about their mental health states and to ask for help, especially when they are dealing with severe depression. Why do you think that is from your experience? Obviously, we're working with both boys and girls and women and men.
Yeah, it's definitely what society teaches us for sure. We were brought up in communities or in our homes where we were taught as boys to not cry or not express how we feel or show emotions because it's not for boys. And they teach us that mostly girls would be sad or vulnerable. And for a guy or a boy, basically, as we say, to be vulnerable or to share his emotions or to communicate how he feels was not acceptable. And that's what society teaches us. That's what social media teaches us, what a real man's supposed to be. And it's basically bringing in toxicity into the lives of boys, and they grow into men with the same attitude or even worse because they don't know. And for us now, as grown men, we now learn or unlearning the bad habits or the toxic traits that we had been taught as young men. So basically, it's just unlearning the things that we did learn, or just viewing the world from a different lens, I would say. Basically, the traditional masculine role that society has forced basically upon men to feel that the masculine identity often um, comes in conflict with emotions. So basically, they're saying we should be strong but not vulnerable because basically it's not masculine. Yeah.
Right. And it's such an archaic belief, but it's still very prominent today. And
Yes.
that's why I think it's so incredible that you do the work that you do, because it's important, especially for young boys, to hear it from someone like yourself with that perspective, because it takes all of us really changing that role that has been generational, you know? So, and I myself, I have brothers, so I always tell them, I'm like, listen, talk to me, communicate. It's fine. Just please, just tell me. And it's interesting to see in my younger brother that natural resistance. But what is beautiful to see in that generation is that they have an awareness to that happening. And it's conversations like this that help really break that stereotype.
Yes, for sure. I definitely see that with this generation. They're more open to it.
Yeah.
Back then, I think there was more of a taboo on everything. So while I was growing up as well, in my family, we were able to share how we felt, yes, but not everyone who grew up with me had the opportunity to do so. And that kind of led to different things. So you could see where the generation now, they're more open to it and they're speaking about mental health and they're doing the work. So
Yeah.
I think we're in good hands.
They are, well, they are our future leaders. So, you know, it's so important that we do pay attention to them and help them, because then they help the others after them. But, you know, one of the many incredible titles that you have and that we share is a mental health first aider. And
Yes.
I think we both agree it's such a life-changing experience. And it's an important role to take on as well. So from what was your experience learning through Healthy Kinder and of course with Future Focus, all the skills that we picked up with mental health first aid? Can you give us some insight on your experience?
Sure, no problem. It was very important for us because with Future Focus, one of the main pillars is on mental health for young people. And one of the things that we learned quickly is that sometimes the signs are not always visible immediately, and sometimes they don't come to you all the time to ask. So sometimes you just have to make sure that you're on cue with it. And with partnering with Healthy Kinder International gave us the opportunity to be certified, yes, but to also recognize the signs and point them into the right direction for help. Maybe in having the conversation and maybe even having the education part of it, but also leading them to the part where they could get professional help. To the background of it with Dr. Webb and Crystal from Future Focus, it was just important that the staff and the members of Future Focus be certified first before we go out and share that with everybody else. And then the ambassadors followed after. So it was an incredible journey, I guess, with Dr. Webb, just learning on the different types of mental illness and just making sure that we are there for the young people who definitely need us, because we're of service. That's what we're here for in the first place. So it's important that we have that knowledge and the education to look out for those signs.
And I love one thing that stuck with me with my training with Dr. Webb through the program was she said it's a good Samaritan's hat. You know, we could choose to intervene. And what I love about you and Future Focus and of course Dr. Webb and many other, even the teachers who are involved in the training with me, is that we will always choose to wear that hat. It's not even a choice for us. We know it's innately what we have to do and, you know, set the example for the young ones.
Definitely.
So I know you're also a motivational speaker, which I really love. You know, I'm also passionate about doing that. From your experience, why is it important that we motivate and inspire the young ones? I know it's an obvious question, but I just want to hear your thoughts.
And as you said, that the young people are our future, and they're not the future for the next couple of years. They start now. And I remember being on a platform in Washington, D.C. They were doing, I think, the Day of the Girl Child. And we had all these leaders on and talking about young people. And I remember sharing my sentiments when it was my time to speak. And I said, the time for us to be doing anything with the young people is now, because we share, yes, they are leaders for tomorrow, but where does the work start? And the work does start now with them, because they're ready to work. We just need to put them to work. And most oftentimes we don't give them the room, the knowledge, and the tools to do so. And with these organizations and platforms give us the opportunity to do so. And I'm grateful for that part, yeah.
Definitely. And to bring it back to the point of mental health first aid, you know, I think it's so important that we have more training done, especially in TNT, but in the Caribbean, in the world overall. I know we are getting there slowly but surely, but I think we need to take the lead in really pushing a nationwide training. And I know that is the goal that we have, and we share that interest. And I just want to use this opportunity to highlight that, because I think it would be great if we could have the support from Ministry of Education or from the government, wherever it comes from, to really push that as a nationwide service, I would say, you know, because we're in a public crisis right now when it comes to mental health.
For sure.
Yeah. And you can see, I'm sure you've seen it as well, the young people are crying out for help. They're crying out for help. And I think the answer should be answered right now. We need to take the call to action right now, immediately.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think one of the, as I said, the main pillar of Future Focus is always mental health, because we see the need for it. And as you said, it's like a pandemic within a pandemic. We just went through COVID-19, and that was for like 2 years. And imagine the impact it had on people's mental health, especially young people. And it's just important that we, just as you said, to get everybody involved. Future Focus with Healthy Kinder and so much NGOs have been doing the work without funding or without support from anything or anybody else. And it's, if we were to get that support to do it nationwide or regional or worldwide, imagine what we could possibly get done.
I know. And my pause just raised when you said that, because I think when we do have that support internationally, we will then see this long tail of mental health being this dark cloud finally going away, and we see a bit of hope. And I really commend Future Focus and of course Healthy Kinder for the global work that you all are doing. I just had a talk yesterday, which you were present for, with Malawi. So that was so much fun, and I was so happy to be on that platform. But it really showed me and reminded me it is a global issue. And to see,
Definitely.
during the pandemic, I believe it was the rate for suicide was 606 months. And these are children or young people that we were speaking
Young people.
and it breaks my heart because when will enough be enough? When are we going to say we need to pay full attention to the situation? When that doubles, when it triples, I don't understand, why it's still seen as not an important topic, because it is to us, but in the grand scheme of things, we still have a lot of work to push the dialogue.
Definitely. And I think most oftentimes it's not seen as important because it's literally not seen. And with a physical illness, you could see it, you could see the effects of it, and maybe a cut or something else, and you could say, hey, you need to go to the hospital or a doctor. But with mental health, most oftentimes it's not visible. So I think that's why the importance is not there, but it is important. It's extremely important.
Extremely important. And that's why I called my project the Invisible Scars Project, because we all have scars. We all have our, you could see on your body and say, I fell off of a tree and this is what happened. And I fell off my bike and this is a scratch, but we don't have the normal reaction when it comes to the mental scars. When we're like, at the age of 5, this happened. At the age of 10, this happened. At the age of 15, this happened. At the age of 45, because it's a lifelong journey with mental health and balancing it. Yeah.
That's right. And it was great to see you on the platform yesterday because, I mean, like you were literally in Malawi. And they have a huge mental health crisis in Malawi at the moment. And it's just great that we could see the young people come out. And thank you so much for even being on the platform and sharing your experiences and the journey and with the Invisible Scars Project as well.
Thank you. And you know what was inspiring about that? There was a young lady who spoke as well, Maya, and I believe she's 18 years old, and she spoke as the voice of the young people of Malawi. And my paws raised again when I said that, because we are seeing the young people rise up and say, we are tired of asking, we are demanding. I think that's beautiful. So you are a man of many talents. So can you tell me a bit about your dance, I would say your creative expression? Because for me, as someone who struggled with my mental health, my creative expression was such a great outlet to foster good mental health. Can you tell me how maybe you've seen signs and positive impacts when you had that space to be creative and to be free?
Yes. So I always had a free space or creative to do whatever we wanted to do, I guess, when we were growing up, whether it was sports or dance, like you mentioned. And I never thought I would be able to dance. I thought I was someone who had 2 left feet. And, they say, yeah, like that. So my sister, she did everything. I kind of just like stayed in the background. I did track and field in school and cricket. But after high school, I was done with everything else out of books. And I think it's like 10 years ago, I was the coordinator for the International Dance Festival of Trinidad and Tobago. So we had people from everywhere in the world come to Trinidad to dance. It was a 3-day session. So it was just dance, 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 dance and dance education, dance and food. It was amazing. So I met with a few of them and they were like, don't you dance? And I was like, no, I don't. And everybody was pulling you everywhere on the dance floor, but I couldn't dance. And from that day on, I made the decision after I spoke to one of the dancers from New York, and he said, you should come to my school and do ballet. And I was like, I don't think so. I was like, at my age, doing ballet, I don't think so. But I took up the challenge to start dancing. And from then, that was my outlet. Gave me the opportunity to express myself in ways that I thought I could never do. Yeah. I had the full support of my family and friends. I did exams with the IDT in England. I got honors that I never thought I would get. Wow. So it has put me in positions to perform as well, compete. I went abroad as well to dance. So it was just amazing. It still is. I haven't danced in a bit, but I mean, just the opportunity to have an outlet to be expressive and to share. And I think that's what a lot of young people need, especially with the arts, to just express themselves and feel how they feel in the art. And you could see that
Yeah.
sometimes.
And I always say, I may be biased, but Trinidad and Tobago has the most talented people in the world. We
For
have
sure.
so much natural talent, and
For
it's
sure.
so, I always implore adults in the lives of children to push them into their creativity. Don't say, maybe this won't work out, or maybe this is
Yeah.
the right way. No, push them, fully. And I
Yeah.
remember being in I went to St. Joseph's Convent, and I was part of the dance chair team. And this is also when I was experiencing my depression. And a lot of people didn't know that, but that
Right.
escape, having that space to just be free and to do something you love, helps a lot with your mental health and regulating it. And also, of course, the social aspect, being around people who also love what you do. So I'm
Exactly.
happy that you've experienced that, and you could also push it as well, because there are gender stereotypes where some young boys
Yeah.
love to dance. They're like, oh, but it's dancing and I can't do that because it's a girl. No, it's not. It's not. It's beautiful. It is fantastic.
I had that experience when I was teaching in school. And I remember my standard 3 class, there was dance.
Yeah.
And one of the boys like, no, I can't do that. And I was like, why? And he said, girls dance. And I was like, but you dance in class all the time. But he just didn't want to do it in front of everybody else.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the issue is that they are comfortable in themselves or comfortable in certain situations, but definitely not where they don't feel safe.
Right.
And that's the thing with young men. We need to create a safe space as well. I mean, for everybody, but especially the young men, because they don't feel safe at all to express themselves or to share how they feel. So it's important to create that. If you see in sports, mostly with football or anything contact sport, you would see how boys behave and how men behave. They hug each other and they give each other a high five, and they pat each other. It's like a whole different thing, but they feel that's where it's acceptable to express themselves. But put them in a different scenario, they would never do that. So it's important to create a space for them, and then eventually they would go to do it anyway, basically.
Yeah. And I love that you said that, because again, this is why it's so important for people like yourself being so vocal about the issue when it comes to mental health, and also just the safe spaces, because the reality is sometimes the young men and the boys feel more comfortable hearing these things from someone who they see themselves in, being a man yourself, So like you said, when they feel safe in those settings where it is predominantly other male figures, this is what we need to do in the mental health movement. We have to say enough is enough. Come on.
That's right.
Emotions are fine. You are fine to speak and to be free, and you're not being judged as being weak or anything like that.
I remember I did Mr. Grand Trinidad and Tobago last year.
Nice.
And so that's another thing.
We have so much in common.
So when we did that, we had a session with I think Dr. Stinger, and they came in from I think Hopeful Handbags. It's the name of the company, and they came in and they had a session with us, and they told us it was a safe space and had all the guys be vulnerable. And for the first time, I've seen so many guys just feel free to share how they felt and share their experiences and their past. And there were some tears from a few, but it was a healing process. And understanding that the space was safe, they felt free to share that. So I was grateful for that opportunity as well.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. I love, and I always say this because that was your experience at bonding in Mr. Grand, and then during Miss World TNT we had that bonding too. So I love the fact that both though different spaces have these sisterhoods and these brotherhoods where you could genuinely just feel safe and share this experience and understand that we're all developing as people and just finding ourselves and figuring it out.
That's right.
So as we know, it is Mental Health Awareness Month. Woohoo, celebrating. Wear my green, actually. This was not intentional, but I guess it's embedded in me.
That's right.
I just want to say, I think we both agree we have to keep checking in with our loved ones, especially
Yeah,
the men in our lives, the boys in our lives. And I'm not saying that they matter more. I'm saying that this is where we're lacking in the mental health space. So
for sure.
what would your words to our listeners and viewers be in that regard?
I think one, first off, examining self, especially when it comes to mental health, because you have to take care of yourself.
Yes.
And like they said, you can't pour from an empty cup. And although it sounds cliche, it is facts that you can't. So it's important that you check on self, do some evaluation, some soul searching, like the man in the mirror, and then check on your boys. I mean, like for example, your boys would call you to Lime or whatever they do, or sometimes my friends would call me to go to the movies or to hang out or dance, whatever it is. But do we really call our boys to check up on them or to see how they're doing mentally? And just like I mean, you hang out with your partner, it's like, hey, how are you doing today? Like, really? Like the seminar you guys had in Malawi yesterday.
Yeah.
How are you doing? Really? Just not asking passively or asking just because it sounds good to ask how your day was, but just asking because you genuinely want to know how their day was and how they're doing.
Mm.
And I think once we get to that point where we could normalize asking those questions, normalize the way we feel about it, we'll get to that point. But first, examine self, take care of yourselves, and make sure you check in with the people you love.
Yes, beautifully said. I couldn't agree anymore. And it was beautiful to hear that on the panel discussion yesterday as well. The fact that it is glazed over. How are you doing? I'm fine. How are you? How are you going? I'm good. You? And then, there were points in my mental
That's
health journey where I've been typing back on WhatsApp saying I'm good and I'm crying. And that really summarizes the reality. We don't know what people are going through behind closed doors. So checking in can really make a difference. And it could also be the turning point for someone's recovery rate in the whole mental
yeah,
health space. Yeah,
that's
definitely.
great. I like that. That's so important.
So thank you again for joining us for this mindful conversation. Do you have any final thoughts for our listeners or viewers?
Sure. I would definitely say that we know that mental health is a state of well-being, and we want to get to that point where it's normalized, where the stigma is not as it used to be before. Um, I do want to say also that be careful of how you speak to yourself, one, and to others. There's a love language when it comes to mental health, that you don't say things that you don't mean, one, and you don't say things that could probably hinder somebody from actually getting real help, the help that they need. So you have to be careful in how you speak. Like, for example, when you say, oh, the weather is so bipolar today. And your friend might be struggling with bipolar disorder, but they won't say anything to you because you treat it like if it's something uh, menial or like it's nothing. So you have to be careful of how you speak. And that's where the love language comes in. Also, read up on mental health, make sure you're educated on it, and just making sure that you check in on people, check in on yourself, just self-evaluate, look at yourself and see where you need to change or do things differently. I always tell people, if you don't feel like waking up sometimes in the morning or doing your whole list, do something.
Yes.
Making your bed could be something that is, it might be very simple, but it definitely does help to change your mood and to change your day. Sometimes it's easier said than done, but it's not impossible.
Exactly. That was so beautifully said. And I'm not surprised because you are incredible. Two things I love. The love language is so true. When even at myself, the more I get involved with groups like yours or with the mental health first aid training, you really understand the sensitivity around it. You also understand the importance of empathy and just being mindful of the word choices, like you said. And also celebrate the small victories, like you said, making the bed, mopping the floor, taking out the trash. These are small victories, especially when you're dealing with severe depression. Celebrate yourself, celebrate the wins, and celebrate your loved ones.
That's right.
So thank you so much again, Davon, for joining us for this mindful conversation. And I really want to implore anyone who's listening and curious about mental health first aid training, please go to Future Focus. I will leave all the information in the description, their Instagram, their website, anything really, because it's so important that we are all wearing the Good Samaritan hat of mental health first aid.
That's right, for sure. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you again, everyone. Well, thank you for watching the Be Mindful podcast, and we will see you again soon. Bye.